During that time, Jonathan was removed from the house. He had a big brother from the Big Brothers and Big Sister Organization of America. And I have learned that the Big Brothers and Big Sisters organization matches children with special needs to adults that can assist and fill those special needs. Jonathan was very lucky. He received a film critic from the Houston Chronicle as his big brother, and that's Jeff Millar. Thank you, Jeff, for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Jeff also is a playwright. You were saying you recently had a play that played at a local theater.
That's right, The Rice at Main Street Theater last fall.
Yes. And then, of course, most probably everyone's going to know you as the writer for Tank McNamara.
Right.
And that it's a nationally syndicated
comic strip.
Comic strip, yes. But during this time, you had joined the Big Brothers Big Sisters organizations because why?
I didn't have any children of my own,
yes.
And I just wanted to learn sort of up close and personal what a kid was like. And this was a chance to get to know a kid and maybe do some good for the kid at the same time.
So you walk in and you see Jonathan. What was your first impression of him?
Unusual kid.
Really?
But I somehow didn't really expect to be matched with a sort of usual kid, you know, because of the kind of weird way I made my living. And my very first impression of John was as an extremely intelligent, almost preternaturally knowing kid of 12 years who seemed to know as much about art and culture as I do, rather alarmingly.
Interesting. And you had mentioned that you may or may not have gone back for a second meeting, but you decided to have a second meeting with Jonathan. What was it that drew you back to a second meeting with Jonathan?
Some sense of commonality. John was a troubled kid, otherwise I wouldn't have been there.
Correct.
But for a couple of simple twists of fate, I could have been a troubled kid too.
You bet.
And I was a dreamy little kid who spent most of my time staring at the ceiling and thinking. And I had some sense that John may have been something like that too. I
see. And along the way, did you help with his filmmaking process? Did you?
To the extent that I could. I knew he had made films. I had seen when we were, I think he was 11 when he made the world famous From Tarnation film in which he impersonated the young battered wife. He projected that for me on the wall of his house. And I had a sense that John was an intensely creative person, even at 12 years of age. And what I tried to do was find a way for it to get out. He made films. That was an expensive hobby to have back then.
Yes.
Super 8 films. So I tried to find other ways for him to be creative that perhaps weren't quite so expensive. I gave him an inexpensive typewriter so he could try to write. And maybe he's one of these persons who worked orally, so I gave him an inexpensive tape recorder so he could get his thoughts down on tape if that may work out better. And I gave him some money to help him with film and processing for a film he wanted to make.
I see. You mentioned that he would project films on his wall and watch it. He would have people come over?
Yes, he had converted the sort of half attic in his home into a combination bedroom and theater and motion picture studio. And I had the sense, yes, I think he may have shot that film up there, his little studio.
Interesting. So when you were his big brother, and then you saw the film Tarnation, were you realized at the time that you were his big brother, did you realize all of that was going on in his life, that chaos?
I had a pretty good idea. You could just see from John's environment that it wasn't terribly stable and that he was a lot of acting out. I've said in interviews that John at that age had pretty much wrecked the inside of his house. He was a kid with a lot of anger or disturbed in a way where he needed to wreck things. and he had punched holes in the sheetrock over the inside of his house. So it was pretty writ large that this was a kid who could go either way, you know. He could do something spectacular, or he ended up dead in a gutter.
Yes.
I'm very pleased to say that it took the first branch of the road.
In a big way. In a big way. Huge. So now that he's an adult, and you still have a relationship with him.
We do, very long distance and somewhat sporadic. We have kept up over the years from his late adolescence to his early 20s when he moved away to New York and wanted to make his fortune there. And he would come back to town every now and then to visit his grandparents, his grandfather after his grandmother died, and he and my wife and I would have a meal and catch me up. Wow. There was always something very interesting going on, and then all of a sudden, this avalanche called Tarnation started happening.
When did you hear?
And kept happening, and kept happening, and kept happening.
When did you hear about the film?
He called up and said, "Oh my God, Jeff, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I made a film, and it's going to be in the Mixed Film Festival, the Gay and Lesbian Film Festival of New York. Oh my God, oh my God."
And he was excited about that opportunity.
Oh yes, and he kept getting more and more excited. I got a phone call and say, "Oh my God, it's going to be the New York the New York Film Festival." And then, oh my God, it's going to be at Sundance. And then I finally decided my wife and I'd better go to Sundance and see it.
And that y'all actually went up to Sundance?
We did.
And you bought like a pass where you could go around and watch different movies?
Well, we couldn't. We got too late to get in to see any movies but Tarnation, and John had to virtually sneak us in inside a canvas bag so we could see it.
I heard it was standing room only.
It was standing room only and more.
Well, I had gotten a phone call from the Houston Film Commission who had seen it, and it was everybody was talking about it. It was the biggest buzz. Just right there in January 2004, it was phenomenal. So you've seen the movie?
Yes. Twice I've seen it.
You're a former film critic.
Well, it is abundantly apparent that Jonathan is enormously talented.
Yes.
He is, I'm speaking from someone perhaps of my generation. Tarnation is not linear.
Yes.
I'm sort of a linear person. But nevertheless, if you can't really relate one sequence to what goes before or what goes after, it does build emotionally. And by the end of the film, you know you've been through the ringer.
Okay, we have about 30 seconds left. You've seen the movie. What'd you think?
Did I not just tell you?
Okay, it put you through the ringer.
It put me through the ringer.
Okay.